Hey there, YouTube land. It's Big Dave here. So, I'm just moving this so you can see me better. Anyway, today I'm just going to take out a few hard rubber mouthpieces that I have here. Some of them are original. I'm just thinking now. Yeah, one of them is original. The other four have either been worked on by somebody, or some of them I worked on myself, or maybe both. And we're just going to ramble on about some of these plus and minuses. Okay? So let's just start. Here's the first one. I did a little work on this one myself. This is a modern production 7-star, which is a very common facing. It's a Otto Link tone edge. And I don't remember too much about this mouthpiece. It's something that I think, I know my son bought it, and then it didn't play that good. So we made a few adjustments on it, and this is a couple of years ago. And all of a sudden he found it and said, if you want this, I'm not using it. So I said, all right, I'll take it back, and I might check it out, but it does play good. This one had a pretty flat table. I'm trying to move this so that you can see the table. This one had a pretty flat table. So there wasn't all that much that needed to be done. There was a couple of light swipes on the table, and I can see where it brought it right up to where the facing starts, right about there. And it looks like the curve was lightly adjusted. Doesn't look like a big deal, but where I did work in his is in the inside. This is where it didn't want to play. So one of the first things I usually do with these is I bevel out the fronts and bring the side rails out so that they fan out rather than come straight down. And also, I usually do a little bit of work to make the tip rail thinner, and then bring a little material off of this beginning so that it speaks faster. I've been doing that for a long time. It's a common adjustment. If you see mouthpieces that are adjusted, a lot of times that'll be one of the first adjustments, is in the front here. Everybody has an opinion, Opinion is like opinion is like opinion. I don't know. I've worked with a real lot of mouthpieces, and what I'm telling you is the biggest trouble with mouthpieces is in the tip. Okay, some people say, "Oh, well, the mouthpiece is a little crooked, and this and this and this." Yes, that matters. I'm not saying it doesn't. And if the table is like the Pacific Ocean, like one of these other ones I'll show you, that's a definite problem. If the rails are all uneven, if they're drastically uneven, it matters. If they're only a little bit uneven, it doesn't matter that much. What really matters is how the tip is set up and how the air goes in. When you first blow into the mouthpiece and how the reed first operates, it's at the tip. If the tip is not finished well, or the tip has issues, or maybe one side is way higher than the other, you're going to get squeaking, you're going to get all kinds of problems. So I can already see what I did, and I know that I beveled out. I can see here that I took off some material to make the side rails thinner and more finished. Other than that, I didn't do much with this mouthpiece. It was mostly interior work. Everything else I kind of left alone. I didn't even play this, but I remember when I tested it, it was a pretty good piece. I might try it out again and see what happens. Okay, so I'm just going to move some of this stuff so it's not in the way here. So let's put that one off to the side. Let's take out another one. Let's see what the deal is with this. I'm looking to see what it is. Okay, this is a special piece, actually. It was originally done in 1962, I believe, by I'm looking at the date. It's hard to read. 1969 by Glenn Johnston, who was a famous, I don't want to say famous, but he was a well-known mouthpiece refacer and repair technician, and I believe he was in California. And then later on, this was done by Phil Engelman from Philtone, right? Who's a really spectacular mouthpiece technician. I have a few of his mouthpieces, and they're really spectacular. So, anyway, this is really done very well. And you can see how nicely this is beveled out in the front. This is what I was talking about on that other piece. This is all nicely beveled out in the front, and the rail isn't too big. They took the baffle and flattened it some. So it's, I don't want to say it's more like Gardala-esque, but it is, because this is more like what Dave Gardala was doing. And also the inside is more, there's more airspace opened up in here. Okay, so this is a very good playing mouthpiece. The reason I don't use it much is because it doesn't tune that well on my horn. It tunes on some horns. It doesn't tune that well on mine. I have it. I can use it for certain things, but other things I just kind of don't use it. But I like it, and it's still a good mouthpiece. It just doesn't tune that well on my horn. All right, let's take another one. Oh, this is an old standby. Oh, this has been around for years. I would say at least 30 years. You can see it has quite a bit of wear. Even though I don't bite down hard or much, or have much pressure coming from my head, it still wears in on the top of the mouthpiece. So, but this has been around for a really long time. And it's all original, never been refaced, never been touched, never been anything. This is a Vandoren T-35. Now, some people might think this is more for classical playing because it's a round chamber. You can see inside it has a reduction. Now, that's to focus the airflow because there's no baffle. The inside is very open and very wide, and then it goes into a reduction down in the throat so that it's more efficient with the airflow. And when I bought this, I didn't really, I'm just going to see if I can get this to focus, but it might not. No, it doesn't want to do it because it's weird. So let's just see if I can, that's better. Anyway, so you can see there's hardly anything here. It just goes straight in, has rounded sides. So this is more of a round chamber mouthpiece. And then it goes into a round shaped throat, and there's a reduction, which makes it more efficient. You can see the reduction better on this side because here's the shape. If this was all opened up like the same size as the, the back here, it would be very hard to operate because the air would just go through it like a tunnel, and it wouldn't be efficient at all. It would be hard to play. But this is a really good mouthpiece. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. It's more darker, and at one time I used it for a bunch of different things, especially having to play some kind of parts or any kind of recording where you don't need any noises. And it's very reed friendly. It plays like on a medium hard reed, and it plays very efficiently. So I'm going to put this off to the side. We'll get back to this. It has a special little bag here still. All right. Anyway, so that's a good example of a round chamber mouthpiece. Let's see what else we have here. Here's another Berg Larsen. When I purchased this is 1950s, by the way, so is the other one that I had. When I purchased this, I bought it more as a blank because I already knew it wasn't going to play. The facing was a little bit messed up, and other stuff was still 1950s rubber, Berg Larsen. Now you can see the inside of this one is smaller, even though it's a number 2, which is supposed to be like a medium. But you can see it has a lot of baffle here, and I don't think this is a number 2. Even though it's marked as a number 2, it's a 90/2, but I refaced this. In fact, I just did some more work on it yesterday because it's been laying for a while, and I didn't want to be bothered with it because the main problem here is the table was like the Pacific Ocean. It was just all over the place. And you can see now, most of the table is flat. It's dead flat. And it still has an area here and an area here where there's some concavity to it, which we're not going to touch. It doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. There's plenty of space here for the reed to sit flat. And up at the top, before it hits the window, there's plenty of space where it's flat. This little bit here, this little bit here, it's meaningless, really. Some people will argue, oh yeah, well, this blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't mean all that much. The main part, like 90% of this, is flat. And going into the facing. And then this facing now is around 102 maybe. My digital gauge is ruined. So it had a big tragedy a couple of years ago. I never replaced it. I don't really need it. I use other things, and that's okay. But as you can see here, all this thing used to do was just squeak. You would put a reed on it, and it would make a loud, buzzing, squeaking sound. But I can tell you that this is different than the other one because the inside is smaller. And it has a lot more baffle. I didn't take much out of the front, but I had to reshape the entire front to get it opened up, and also to just make it so that I could put a facing on it so it's not going to squeak. And so I did take about a 32nd inch off the front, maybe a little bit more. You have to do that sometimes. You don't have a choice. That's just how it is. First of all, the front was so thin, it was like the edge of a knife. It was so thin. That's the way it was originally. And it had such a thin rail, and like I said, all this thing did was buzz and squeak. Now it plays pretty good, but it has more of a nasal quality to it. Eventually, I'll probably do some more work on the inside, but I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet. And but you can see, so there it is. That's what's going on. But now at least it plays. It doesn't squeak. You can play through the whole horn. The only thing is, like I said, this to me is not a 2, even though it says it's a 2. This is more like almost a 0. So, and I've worked with enough Berg Larsens where, like, I kind of know. So I'm pretty confident this is either mismarked or, they just didn't do what they were going to do. They're very inconsistent, the old Berg Larsens. They're all over the place. Okay. And let's look at this one. This is an interesting piece that I just got recently. I'd rather not say what this is for different reasons. We'll just say it's a Otto Link early Babbitt copy. This is used, and I bought it, and it was made up by some hotshot people, supposedly, and it's pretty nice. Okay. What's interesting here is the mouthpiece, when I got it, the tip was very thick, and it was very, one side of the tip rail was very heavy, and the other side was thinner. So, I did a little bit of work on that and evened it out. And now you can see it has a very nice tip and tip rail on it. And plus it's beveled out slightly on the edges. The other thing that was wrong with this mouthpiece is, even though it came from some supposed hotshot people, the table wasn't flat at all. It had a big you know, a big point sticking up at the end, which is common with some of these blanks. They dip in the middle, and then there's a big point in the end. I have another video about that. Now, that doesn't mean you need to reface the whole mouthpiece. This had a very nice curve and a nice facing on it, so I didn't want to touch that. It was already done. I don't need to make more work for myself. But what I did do, and you can barely see it because it's all cleaned up, is I took the back down. Starting from about here towards the back was taken down and then evened off, and now it's basically, it's flat. See that? You can see it. It's flat. And it wasn't flat yesterday. Still has the tiniest little space in the middle. You might see the light coming through there. Tiniest little space in the middle. There's a little bit of concavity. That has to do with when they make the hard rubber and they put it through the machine. They make the blanks and it heats up and then it cools down. But this is a very nice rubber, so it's going to, that's why it plays good. And the piece plays really well. It also has a big inside. See that? Big throat, big inside, lots of sound, and yet it plays nice. I'm going to use this on professional things. It works, and it plays better now that I adjusted it than when I got it, even though it was, like I said, it's a used piece. Somebody had this for a while already, and then they decided to sell it. But it was made up by some hotshot people, and it still had issues. So I have an issue with that. Don't send out stuff from your shop that is not, you know, what it's supposed to be. Check it out. Why send that kind of stuff out, you know? All right. So anyway, and that's easily corrected, you know. Sometimes when you go to somebody and they look at the mouthpiece and they see it has that edge in the back, they start refacing the whole mouthpiece and changing the whole mouthpiece. It's not necessary. I know people will, you know, not agree with me on this. It's not necessary. That's all there is to it. Fix what's broken. The back is broken. The back has a dip, has an edge in it. Bring the edge down, flatten out the table. Yes, you might be slightly opening up the mouthpiece. So let's say it was a 105. Maybe now it's going to be a 107 because you took that edge off the back. Maybe it's not. And it doesn't really matter. You know, you don't need to reface the whole mouthpiece and change a whole mouthpiece that's in really good condition like this one. This only needed to have that back corrected. And so what if it's a hair more open, you know, when you're done? It doesn't matter all that much. It's how it plays. And this mouthpiece plays really well. So, there it is. I'm done ranting about rubber mouthpieces for today. I still don't have a coffee sponsor. And it's not quite time for this mug yet. So, all right. Good talking to you, and I appreciate everybody that subscribes and follows along. As you can see, I don't have ads on this channel, so they don't promote it. So if you like the channel, tell your friends who play the saxophone, and they can follow along. I'm not decided yet whether I want to have ads on this channel. It doesn't do all that much for me monetarily, and it congests the information, but I have less subscribers because the channel's not promoted. So, you know, but I'm free to do that, and I choose to do it that way. I'm not the only one. There are other people that do the same thing that I do. All right. 2 thumbs up, and we'll talk again. Have a nice day.